Hey, I'm Penny, this is Penelope's Pitstop, and in this issue, issue 12, we're not going to be doing as much as last week, thank you, but we will be testing the propeller and fitting a paddle.
For those who fought in the Battle of Britain, it was a battle for survival. For the free world, it was a breathless moment in history. For failure would have plunged mankind into a new dark age. Never have so many owed so much to so few.
So, welcome to issue 12. There isn't a lot to do in this issue, which in stark contrast to the last issue, actually isn't a bad thing. But as always, let's begin with the parts check. So we have an engine bearer, part 1201, part 1202, the circuit board, part 1203, battery box, and part 1204, 4 2x4mm PM screws. So stage 1, open the battery box 12.3 by unscrewing the single screw and sliding the cover as indicated. Step 2, fit 3 AA batteries into the battery box as shown. Replace the cover and screw. Check that the switch of the battery box is off. Now, I'm not going to show you doing this, and the reason for that is we've had instances which has caused confusion on many YouTube channels about product placement, and the batteries I've used are branded batteries. So basically what I have done is I've removed this screw with a screwdriver. Once that screw is out, you see there it says open. Just push this a little bit, pull it down, pop the batteries in, go into reverse, screw it up. So I don't want to open this up because it's got branded batteries in, just to save any confusion. I don't think product placement is a major thing, but let's not take a chance. So step 3, take the assembly from issue 11, which has a cable coming from the motor behind the propeller. Identify the socket for the motor connector on the circuit board 1203 labelled motor below, and plug in the connection from the motor 204. Note that the connection only fits in the socket one way up. Now please also note that this is not what mine looks like, so what the magazine looks like. In the magazine the wire is coming straight out, but don't forget we had a correction in the previous magazine which may actually have gone, the correction may have been done after the final draft for issue 12. So note that this bracket is in place, but it may not actually have been in place in issue 12, so ignore the fact that the wire's not coming straight out. It is correct when we place it there. So the circuit board is here, and we're looking for, there we go, so we've got the words motor. So what we want to do is, you see on this plug there's a little line on the top. Let me see how close I can bring this. So we have a little line along the top, and that line will go there, and that's just to stop you from plugging this in. This is, I'm deliberately trying to plug this in the wrong way and it won't go in, and if you did force it, the connections won't meet up. So make sure this little line is at the top. That will go in as such, and it should, there we go, it should kind of click, and then there is actually a stopper there. You can pull that out, but it's not going to come out easily. So step 4, double check that the battery box is switched off. Identify the socket for the propeller motor connection on the circuit board 12 labelled power, and plug in the connection from the battery box 12.3. Note that the connection only fits in the socket one way. And then step 5, Hold the nose assembly so that the propeller is clear of the work surface and any other obstacles. Turn the switch on the battery box to on. Check that the propeller rotates. It will start slowly and speed up. Seen from the point of view of the pilot, the propeller rotates clockwise. So this is genuinely the first time I've ever done this. I have not. Normally I check things, but I haven't been able to in this case. So note that on 2 occasions they've told you to check that this is off. They've told you in stage 2 as you're fitting the batteries to make sure it's off, and they've told you again in stage 4 to make sure it's off. So I'm going to assume that was very, very important. So I'm going to place this down because then we'll look at it from the perspective of the pilot, so it should rotate this way. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh, wonderful. Oh look, and that's certainly got faster. Oh, do you know what? As you all know, it's been very, very hot lately. This is actually being filmed in August, and this is actually pushing out quite a tremendous amount of wind. So let's turn it off, and you see how it's like an optical illusion when things rotate, but you can see how the pattern changes. So let's turn it on again. 3, 2, 1, and it does. It starts slowly. I think it needs to build the momentum up. Oh, and that's beautiful. I wish I'd made this 2 or 3 days earlier, so that I could have used it as a fan. It's actually quite weighty, but that's really pleasing that it's working. And look how slowly that takes to unwind, to slow down. Now that is metal. I don't think it would cut your hand off, because I don't think it's going fast enough, but we really don't want to take that chance. So before we go on to stage 6, I'm just going to remove the connectors, which this does not want to come off. So let's remove this one, and then we can remove this one. This is the one I don't want to get stuck. There we go. So always apply equal pressure either side, and do not ever pull by the wire. So that means that my propeller is working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this connected in like this, and once I finish the stream I'll remove the batteries. That way if anything happens with the batteries, say for example it leaks, it's not going to ruin the power pack, but you don't need to see that on camera. So let's have a look at stage 6. Fit the engine bearer onto the fuselage part 301 at the back of the nose assembly as shown left and above. And then stage 7, holding part 1201 in place, carefully turn the assembly over, fix in place with 3 2x4mm PM screws. They go through the fuselage and into the sockets on part 12.1. So what we will need to do then is let's get our screws ready. And we've got a little pot I'm sure that's coincidence, but we've got a little pot, and I'm going to load up one screw onto a screwdriver, because as we all know, once we've fitted one screw there is a certain amount of hold. So this is going to go in this way, and we have 3 holes there, and they're going to line up with these 3 holes there, and they are not going like that. So that's interesting. That does not want to go in. There we go. Right, so we have, you see there's a little semicircle there on the end. That's going to go round the screw there, and then that will naturally, you've got 2 little hooks there. They sit either side of there, and it just rests nicely in there. So what I will do, I'm holding this very firmly, and I'm just going to pop a screw into the bottom hole. And this is quite interesting. I have enough faith in Hachette that I know that they will probably cover those screws up, because this is obviously looking like it's part of the outside. But I also have the question of how. So I'm not complaining, because all too often someone will complain about a part, and the next issue or a few issues later, Hachette will fix it. So you know they always had that, and you know from this correction that they are working many issues ahead, because the correction wasn't reflected in the following issue. So obviously if these are covered up in the next few issues, we know that they were always going to be covered up. It wasn't an afterthought. So there we go, there's 3 screws in there, and I've put them in obviously as carefully as I can. So now it's beginning to put the foundations in for the extension on the fuselage. So that's looking like it's beginning to get close to the cockpit, and that is the completed part. The propeller motor has been tested, and a panel has been fitted that will support the engine. Aha, it's an engine support. Store the assembly carefully until needed. So as soon as I saw the words engine, that bit sprung out again at me, and I'm thinking this piece here. So let's have a little dry fit, and let's see if it's coincidence. Oh look, that is a little stand for the bottom of the supercharger, and now this engine just fits so much more nicely just because there's a little bit there. So I am very, very happy. So I am going to store this piece very carefully until the next issue. I do seem to have a little bit of a struggle with this side panel, because the panels, the exhaust stick out beyond the hole on the fuselage. It makes it a little bit tricky to remove the fuselage piece. However, I've made comments like that before, and it turns out that once things are screwed down, it generally won't be a problem. So, but now we know where it's going to sit. There you go, it probably won't have a problem. Have faith in the parts. So there we go, guys, that is where I'm up to on the Spitfire. I know some of you are further ahead at the time of release on this video, and I will be releasing more videos with the intention of doing a catch-up. So let's find somewhere safe for that. That is absolutely beautiful, and I will catch you all in the next video.